Hello everyone, Branden Bonderfer here, on Focus with you. We have an exciting story for you. We're going to tell you about a new church that's coming to Marshfield. Hub Life Church will be here in Marshfield, opening up in the month of September. And we have a pastor named Casey who will be leading that church. We're going to learn a little bit about him and the church. But let's start with Casey. Casey, tell me about your background and what really brought you to Marshfield and just kind of your walk.
Yeah, so I grew up in a Catholic church. Some of you can relate to that right away. And so I was an altar boy in the church and served and loved it. I loved being a part of the body there. And it was in sixth grade that my parents got divorced, which was really hard for me. And at that time when that happened, my parents actually and our whole family got asked to leave the church. And so for me to be a pastor today is weird because I told God at that time I didn't want anything to do with him. My story kind of changed. I was walking down my high school, Wausau West High School. Some of you are going to boo that because you're Tigers. I know that.
Hey, that's okay.
Maybe some of you
we have no problem beating Warriors.
Awesome. Yeah. Okay. And I don't mind that today. But anyway, I was walking down the hallway of my high school, and I don't know if God's ever spoken to you, if you had that experience. But when I was walking down the hallway, He said, "You're going to be a pastor," and I said, "I'm not going to be a priest. Do not talk to me."
Yeah.
And I just remember a softening in my heart happening at that time in my life. And it wasn't until I was a senior in high school where my life really changed. I had this low blood platelet problem. So I had a real problem where I could actually bleed to death without being too discreet there, I guess. But and so when I went through that, I began to ask God why I was going through this. My senior year of high school was supposed to be the best year of my life. And I'm sure some of you guys have had experience like that where you've asked God, why am I going through this stuff in my life? I just remember Him physically saving me. I had a surgery that helped me get better. And then He saved me spiritually. And what I mean by that is these two girls invited me, not the girls saved me, but they were a part of that. They invited me to a play called Heaven's Gates and Hell's Flame. And at that play, I realized who Jesus was. Like that was the truth, the way, the truth, and the life. And I gave my life to Him that night. And what that means is I let Him come into my life and take charge and be the Lord of my life. And that changed me forever. And so I began to pursue Him and began to pursue what He called me to do in my life.
And that brought you here to Marshfield. So How did you end up being here in Marshfield? How did this idea of starting this church really come all about?
Yeah, good question. So I'm a part of a ministry called Converge Great Lakes. And they're a movement of churches that plant multiple churches because they believe that church planting is the greatest way to reach people who are outside or far away from God. And so that's really why I wanted to start a church too, because I'm all about the people that are far away from God to be a part of a new work. And so my boss came to me, Dwight Perry, and he said, "Hey, would you like to start a church in Marshfield?" And I said, "I'm not sure if I want to do that or not, but I've been thinking about it for a long time." And so I had this friend, Larry Sheehan, who's a pastor at Faith Fellowship, and he came into this meeting I was a part of, and he said, "Hey, we are pregnant," meaning their church was ready to birth a new church. And so I was sitting there that day, and I said, "That's going to be me." And I thought, where did that come from? And so that began the journey of moving to Marshfield.
And I imagine you start this process on August 1st, and here you're going to have this new church starting up in the next 30 days. How far back do we go in time before that conversation with Larry at Faith Fellowship really started, and what got us to being here today?
Yeah, that was about 2 or 3 years ago, and one of the main things that happened from there, I asked God for 2 specific things in my life. I said, "Would you show me to know for sure if I was supposed to be in Marshfield?" Because I have 3 kids, I have a beautiful wife, and so I want to make sure that our family's in the right place too. And by the way, it's a great place to raise a family if you're wanting to move somewhere, so to help us to start our church. So anyways, so that was for me was a big thing. And so 2 of the things happened for me. One was as I was going through this thing called church planning assessment, there was another guy that was going to assessment from Marshfield and was wanting to plant a church. And that guy's actually a part of our team now, which is super awesome. But at the time it was really hard because God was showing him that it wasn't going to be him that's starting the church, it was going to be me. And I love that guy so much, and it was really hard to go through that at the time. And we were trying to rejoice and celebrate that we had passed assessment, and then that they weren't going to be the people that were going to be doing this. So it was hard for us to go through that. But that was one thing, so God made it clear that we were supposed to be the one. And then the other thing, I was driving into Marshfield one day, and this was probably January 2018.
Just before the big snowfall.
Just before the big snowfall, I think, yeah, or maybe a little bit after. I can't remember exactly right now. But and I was driving in, and I saw the Marshfield sign, and in my heart, I said, I'm home. And I just, it was an emotional connection to being home. And if you've ever had that, or if you know what that's like, it's an amazing feeling. And so I just know I'm home here, and this is where God wants me to be.
So talking about 2 to 3 years of planning, in that time I'm sure a lot of ideas, concepts, models of how this would all look and feel have come together. And obviously one thing that is present today is the logo on your shirt. Yeah. And I recognize Hub, because everybody refers to Marshfield from time to time as Hub City. And that's because for those that don't know, Hub City is a pretty distinctious place on the map. Back in the day, we had so many railroad tracks that moved and trains that traveled through Marshfield that's kind of been our token name. Mm-hmm. When you guys started putting through some of these ideas, today we can see that you have a logo in front of you. What was the thoughts and symbolization that went into that logo?
Yeah, it was a great thought. Before I get to the logo, I actually want to say something about what you said about Hub City, because that was actually what drew me to Hub Life, and the name was that those multiple railroad tracks coming together into a center. And to me, the center is Jesus. And so it's like all these different journeys that we're all on these different railroad tracks, whether you're Muslim or Jewish or Buddhist or whatever, or you just have no faith, you're on a journey, and I believe it all is going to come together in Jesus for you. And so that's what Hub Life is really about. But our logo is actually, the black shirt is on purpose, so it wasn't just because we wanted to have a black shirt. But
I thought it was because I always wear a black shirt.
Yeah, we wanted to match Branden, right? Yeah, exactly.
No, not at all.
Because he's such a cool guy. And anyways, but so the black shirt is actually, the Bible describes the world as being dark. And so I don't even think you need to look at the Bible to describe the world as dark. You can see things that are just around us because of a thing called sin, which is a big word, but there's just things that go on, people kill each other, and kids get hurt, and there's just a lot of bad things that happen. And so this is just meaning that we are here to bring life. And so life comes through Jesus. John 10:10, I have come to bring life, and life more abundantly. And so that's where this Hub life, and the white, and then the yellow light comes from this relationship with God that comes through the people of God into the community. And so to shine a dark place.
And I recognize, looks like 3 corn stalks maybe on the shirt logo.
Yeah, and whatever people want to label that, but these are actually railroad tracks, and they're just God, the Father, the Son, Jesus, and then the Holy Spirit. So God is 3 in 1. And so it just says that God lives in us to bring life to our city.
So it's very, very transparent that you've put a lot of time and energy into just thinking through your logo, thinking of the merging walks that people have in life, and even trying to bring that relationship and that connection here in Marshfield to those that are looking for it. What other ideas and thoughts have you really went into planting this church that really in your mind is really going to get people to want to rejoice with it and celebrate that and join that journey with you?
Yeah, I think the main thing that we are about, and I would say that we are about loving people where they are. And I think, people can say that they love you, but until they love you where you are, and what I mean by that is where you are. Like if you're in the mess of life, if you're struggling, if you're a single mom out there that's just struggling to get by, if you're a single dad, I know we always talk about single mom, there's single dads in this community that need help. If you're a young person that's just trying to stumble through life and try to figure stuff out, we're just going to be a church to love you where you are. But the beauty about Jesus is he loves you where you are, but then he brings you where he wants you to be. And that's what we're going to try to do as a church. So we don't just think you want to stay where you are. We believe you want to get somewhere, and we want to help you to find that place. So
the church is starting here and starting to assemble here in Marshfield. What day are you looking to kind of have your first celebration?
Yeah, our opening day is September 29th at 9:30 a.m.
Okay. And where is that location going to be at?
It's here in the 2nd Street Community Center in downtown Marshfield. And so we'll have signs up on the sidewalks and on the corners, so you shouldn't be able to miss it.
And what should people expect from that day, as they enter, what should they bring with them, or, what should their mind or their just be full with?
I just think you should come as you are. And I think you should expect God to do something in your life. Because God showed up in my life at one point when I wasn't expecting him to, and I believe that's going to happen for you. And so that's what I would, but just come as you are. And there's going to be coffee, and there's going to be snacks. There's going to be great people that are going to welcome you in. There's going to be a great program for kids. We have a great kids leader who's a teacher in the community at Madison Elementary, and so we have really good things for people here, and we're just excited to meet you.
And I imagine there's a handful of you that are wondering, well, okay, Casey, we understand, we're getting a story, but I have questions myself, and we can't answer every question that we can think of, and I'm sure some of you have some of those questions. How can they connect with you between now and then, or even down the road?
Yeah, we have a website, hublifewi.com, and so and we also have a Facebook page, and so you can just look up Hub Life, and you'll find that Hub Life, Marshfield, Wisconsin, and you should be able to find us on there. But all our info will be on there, and we'll be updating that constantly, and so you'll be able to connect to different events that will be going on. We'll be having events in the community because we are a church that wants to bring life. And so we're not just about meeting in this place. While we believe the Sunday gathering is really important, we also believe that being out in the community and meeting people and loving them is as important. And so we're going to be a church like that.
So if you haven't already discovered, depending on what platform you are on, we've included those links in description above or below to learn more and to connect with Casey and to learn more about what God's doing here in Marshfield, what Faith Fellowship is, how they're expanding, how this new journey with Hub Life Church is going to take off. Before we go, Casey, is there anything that, talking to me prior to this interview, we talked about, your journey and you getting here and you taking this and running with it and just and being able to share that experience with others. Is there anything that you want anybody to know about you that they might make them feel more comfortable connecting with you or seeing you as someone that is going to help lead them in their next step?
Yeah, I think, when we have the pastor label for people, I think that I'm I'm a normal guy. I know people look at me and say you're really relationship with God is really powerful, and you exude like this confidence in your relationship. But I'm just a normal guy. I watch the Green Bay Packers on Sundays. I'm a huge Milwaukee Bucks, Milwaukee Brewers, Wisconsin Badger fan.
He's now a Tigers fan.
Yes, and now a Tiger fan. That's right. So I love to play disc golf. So I've been doing that. One thing that you might relate to, actually broke my leg last year when I moved here, which was really crazy. And, starting a church, breaking your leg, it's like, what are you doing, God? That's what I was doing. But he's faithful through all those things, and I just want you to know that. But I don't know. I have ups and downs. I have bruises. My marriage is good, but it always needs work. My kids are not perfect. And so if you can relate to that kind of stuff, I'm probably a person that you can hang out with.
Well, Casey, we wish you the best of luck, and I won't wish you to break a leg because, well, like you said, you've already experienced that. But if you guys want to experience something with Casey, go ahead, click in the description. There's a link there that provides you all the information that we talked about. If you want to connect with Casey or just connect with the journey that's taking place here in Marshfield with the new Hub Life Church that is being established. I'm Branden Bonifer, covering the news that matters most to you. If you have a story idea or want to connect, by all means, please reach out. We hope to bring more coverage to our community and cover the things that matter most. Until we meet again, stay tuned.